Hello everyone, and today we're going to change out the speakers for our Nissan Altima. So let's get started. And we're going to start off the driver's side with this one piece right here. So grab a small screwdriver and we're going to remove the door handle escutcheon. And you just got to pry under it just a little bit and it popped right out. And I'm going to try to gently take the rest of it out because you're supposed to replace these parts every time you take them out, but I'm not going to. And it looks pretty good. So now we have access to our door handle bolt. So go ahead and grab your 10mm socket and socket wrench. And we'll go ahead and loosen this up and try to take it out without dropping it. And there we go. Next, we're going to grab our trim removal tool and go ahead and remove our pull handle outer finisher. So we're going to start at the top and just start prying away. And little by little, it should start detaching. So I'm going to start working my way down. And it's pulling apart already. Almost there. And one last clip. And then it should pull right out. There we go. And we'll go ahead and set that aside. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit so we can focus on removing our power window switch assembly. So it just pries right up and it should detach just like so. And with it are two wire connectors or two wire harnesses. And I'll see about backing up the camera a little bit. So we'll wiggle the first one out. Come on. There's one. And it's just a little clip right there. And we'll do the same thing with the other one. And I'll use my thumb for this clip. And give it a little wiggle. There we go. There's two. And I'll just go ahead and tuck that right inside the door. So now we have access to another bolt. That's our armrest cover bolt. So we'll take that same 10mm socket and socket wrench. Go ahead and loosen up and take this one out. Again, hopefully without dropping it. And there we go. And moving up the pull handle is our pull handle bolt. So same thing, grab our 10mm socket and socket wrench. Start loosening that up. Tell you what, let me bring back the camera so I don't bump it. There we go. And we'll see about taking the rest of this out. And it's going to be a similar bolt. Very nice. And now back to our trim removal tool again. Now we need to release the door finisher clips. And all we're doing is prying this away. So little by little, I'm starting at the top and I'm working my way down. And it looks like towards the bottom here, it is a little tight. So I'll use the other side of the trim removal tool to just get under it. Come on. And there we go. That was a good pop. And again, keep working my way around. And I'm kind of pulling it with the other hand just to help keep it detached. And getting a little closer to the inside of the car. Come on. There we go. That was a big release. And I'll pull away to check it. Alright, so I missed a little bit of the outer side. Let me go ahead and pop that off. There we go. Now I should be able to lift this and it should be able to come apart. Very nice. So hopefully from this vantage point, you should be able to get a good view of how it looks on the inside. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this finisher and kind of lean it towards me. I'm going to use my leg to brace it. And we're going to start by disconnecting the door lock and unlock harness. And that just pulls right apart. So that was very easy and we'll let that hang. Next, we need to focus on 3 screws. And it looks like you can't see them, so let me grab my other camera and go ahead and zoom in. So let's see if I can get a good stopping point. And right there. So those 3 screws right there, we need to take out. And that goes to your door handle. And it's held in by screws as well as clips. So let's go ahead and grab our Phillips screwdriver and go ahead and take out all 3 of those screws. Hopefully without dropping it, of course. And, alright, so there's 1. And there's 2. And 1 more. And there's 3. So I'll go ahead and set that aside, put that in my pocket. And now we just got to unclip our door handle. And I'll pop that right out. And I'll see right there, those 2 clips right there, those got to spread outward and then it pops right out. And our very last connection on the door finisher is our step lamp. So we're going to disconnect it using a pair of needle nose pliers just so I can pinch it. And I'll go ahead and pull this harness out. There we go. And I'll take this finisher, put it in the back seat so we don't scratch it. And after finally dismantling half the door, we can go ahead and remove our front speaker. So we're going to start by disconnecting the harness. And we'll go ahead and let that hang right there. Then we'll grab our 10mm socket and socket wrench. And let's go ahead and remove all 3 of these screws. And there's one right there. And there's number 2. And last one, number 3. And now we're going to get a good grip on the speaker and go ahead and pull outward. And come on. There we go. That wasn't too hard at all. So now we can go ahead and grab our new bracket and then our new speaker. And we can go ahead and attach our new speaker to our bracket. Because unfortunately, these speakers just don't bolt right in. You got to buy the bracket with it. Now here's another stipulation. If you look at the screws that come with the speakers, they kind of are a little long. So we're going to need to trim about 1/4 inch off of it. So I'm going to take a pair of linesman pliers and go ahead and trim off about 1/4 inch. And it looks just like that. And then we'll go ahead and screw those right in so that way it looks nice and uniform. And we'll do a quick check. And taking a closer look, I don't see any screws protruding. That's a great sign. Now anytime you trim these screws down using a lineman's tool, just go ahead and make sure you have your safety glasses on because these will fly just about anywhere. So it looks pretty good. Now I think we can go ahead and install our wiring harness. Now these are aftermarket ones and they only go in one way. There's actually a big connector and a small one. So just match up the small connector with the small terminal. And this requires a little bit of finesse. Come on. Get a little wiggle. There we go. Do a little quick check. Do the same thing with the big side. Very nice. And now the speaker's ready to be installed, so we'll take some thread locking compound and apply it to all 3 of those screws. So let me go ahead and position this speaker in place. Go ahead and position the harness in the right spot as well. There we go, that's pretty close. And we'll go ahead and start with that top screw. We'll just get it in there, just loose, just that way it can hang. And then I'll get our second screw in there. Very nice. And then number 3. And come on. There we go. And then we'll go ahead and tighten this up using our 10mm socket and socket wrench. And I'm just checking the harness just to make sure we don't pinch it. So we'll get the second bolt tight, and then the third one. And that's good and tight. So let's go ahead and connect our wiring harness. Let me put my wrench down real quick. And this should snap right in, and beautiful. That looks pretty good. So now we need to reassemble everything we removed. And we'll go ahead and start with the step lamp. So we'll go ahead and reconnect that. And that just snapped right in. Very nice. And then working my way up, let me go ahead and grab our door handle. And we're going to go ahead and snap that right in and then install our 3 door screws. So grab my Phillips screwdriver. Go ahead and tighten them up till they're nice and snug. So there's 2. And number 3. Very good. And we'll go ahead and connect our door lock and unlock harness. That snapped right in. And now we're going to gently raise the door finisher. And go ahead and pull through those 2 wiring harnesses for the window controls. And then I'm going to set the finisher right on its lip up top. And just like that. And now we can start snapping everything back in. I'm going to start with the inside and just work my way around. And all you got to do is line it up and give it a nice little push. And it looks pretty good. Do a little check. Very nice. And now we can go ahead and grab our 10mm socket and socket wrench. And let's go ahead and install our armrest cover bolt. We'll start doing this by hand a little bit. And then we'll go ahead and snug it up. Make sure it's good and tight. Very good. And since we had that socket wrench in our hand, let's go ahead and do the top bolt as well. And again, make sure it's nice and snug. Beautiful. And again, just so I don't have to keep switching out tools, let's go ahead and install our door handle bolt. And almost there. Good and tight. And we're almost done. So let's go ahead and connect our power window switch assembly. And these harnesses just plug right in. Very nice. And we'll go ahead and tuck those down and go ahead and press everything right back in place. And that looks about flat. Let me do another check. Looks pretty sturdy. Next, we're going to go ahead and install our pull handle outer finisher. And we'll start with the bottom and go ahead and snap this one back in as well. And see if I can line everything up. Give it a nice little squeeze. And it looks like everything lined up very nicely. And for our very last piece in the front, we just need to install our door handle escutcheon. So I'm just going to put that in place and it snaps right in. Now we can focus on the rear speakers. And we're going to start by removing the high mount stoplight. So just press it forward, lift up, and this pulls right out. And there's also a wiring harness attached to it, so just make sure you pull that apart. Give it a little nice little pull. There we go. And we'll go ahead and set that aside so we don't crack or break it. Next, we need to focus on these 2 clips, one on the passenger side and one on the driver's side. We're going to have to pull on these so we can remove our rear seat cushion. So we're going to go ahead and start on the passenger side. I'm going to go ahead and pull on this clip while lifting the seat upward. All right, so there's one side, and then we go to the driver's side, do the same thing. There we go. And now I'm going to change my position. I want to lift the seat all the way up and then take the seat out. I'm trying not to do it without getting in front of the camera. And now let me go ahead and bring the camera in, and right behind this seat belt right here, let me move this out of the way, there's a bolt right here that we're going to need to take off. And this is our rear seat bolster. So we're going to grab our 13mm socket and socket wrench, go ahead and loosen this up. There we go. And we're going to take this bolt out. All right, so there's one. And then I'm going to take this bolster, pull outward while lifting up. And there we go. And the reason being because it kind of hooks downward. And we'll go ahead and take that out, and we're going to do the same thing on the passenger side. So I'm going to take my 13mm socket and socket wrench, go ahead and loosen up this bolt. It's on there pretty good. All right, so after enough threads, we'll throw that aside. And let me go ahead and detach the seatbelt from this and go ahead and set that off. And then I'm going to pull outward and upward. And there we go. So now working my way to the trunk, I want to go ahead and pull on both these straps so I can release the back seats. And all I want to do is fold these down. So give that a little push. So there's one, and, oh, come on, and there's 2. So now we have access to our 5 pins. There's 1 right there. There's 2, 3, 4, and 5. So now we'll go ahead and grab our trim removal tool. I'm sure you noticed we've been using this throughout the whole video constantly. And we'll go ahead and pull out all 5 of these retainers. So get right under there, and these pull right out. These are very easy. And let's get number 4 and number 5. And now we should be able to pull this down just a little bit while pulling outward. And come on. I'm doing this one-handed, so bear with me. All right, so there's one side and one more. There we go. And I'll go ahead and set that down for now. And just to make it easier on us for our future step, I want to go ahead and take our seat belts and just go ahead and put it under this last finisher, We're not going to remove it yet, but I'm just getting these seatbelts out of the way just for this later step. And all you got to do is just fold that seatbelt right in the slot and just push it aside. So now we can remove our rear pillar finishers. I'm going to do the same thing as earlier. Take our trim removal tool, and we're going to take out that one retainer. It's the Christmas tree type. Very nice. And we'll set that aside, and everything else should just pull right out. So we're going to pull pretty much inward towards the car. And I'm going to just do this all around that one finisher. And then pop right out towards you. And let me bring the camera back so you can see what I see. Very nice. And don't mind that one wire that just goes to our rear camera. Alright, so we'll do the same thing on the driver's side as well. We're going to pull out that one retainer using our trim removal tool. Came out pretty easy. Same thing, we're going to pull outward towards you just to detach all those internal clips. And give it a nice little pull again. There we go. And you got to be a little bit aggressive with this. And then pull outward and then move forward towards you, towards the front of the car. And finally, our last piece of plastic removed. This is our rear parcel shelf finisher. Kind of a long-winded term. And all you gotta do is pull upward. And I'm trying to do this one-handed, so just bear with me. So I'm kind of work my way around from side to side and just go ahead and detach those clips internally. And then once you do, you just go ahead and pull this whole shelf right towards you. And we'll go ahead and set that down. Now we have access to all of our speakers. So grab your 10mm socket and socket wrench, and we're going to remove all 4 of these bolts. And I'm just loosening them up just for now. And be very careful not to hit your rear windshield with your wrench or with your speaker. You don't want to crack it. Alright, so there's one screw. And there's the other one. Number 3. And number 4. And we're going to lift this up. This got a little weight to it. Turn it, and we're going to detach our wiring harness. And that detached very easily, so that's good. So now let's go ahead and grab our new speaker. Look at that thing. That thing looks really nice. And let's go and do a fitment check. Place it in the hole. And it looks like it fits pretty snug, so that's a great sign. Unfortunately, the bolt hole patterns don't match up exactly. As you can see, it's a little offset, probably about a 1/4 inch. But not to worry, we can fix that. So let's go ahead and grab our paint pen, give it a little shake, and we're going to go ahead and mark where the OEM holes are on the speaker. Now, if you want, you can go ahead and use a marker or whatever else you like. I just used a paint pen just because it's easier to see on camera. And there's number 4 right there. We're going to lift this out, and we'll take it somewhere we can get to it easier. And right there is where we need a cut. So I'm going to take my diagonal cutters that we have right here, and I want to cut basically an offset slot. It's going to look a little funky, but it's going to work. And give that a little cut right there, and right there as well. Now please use safety glasses because these fly everywhere. Case in point, this piece right here. And do the same thing. We're going to trim this up, make it look clean. Very nice. And we'll do a second hole as well. And as we're cutting this way, always check to make sure everything's going to fit perfectly. So you're going to see I'm taking the bolt and I'm going in and out, just like this. That bolt fits right in that slot. That's perfect. That means we can move on to the next hole. And it looks like we're about finished up. Let's take a closer look. Yeah, it doesn't look too shabby. I think we can work with that. And let's go ahead and move forward and connect our wiring harness. And this is the same wiring harness that we used in the front. So just go ahead and connect everything right up. Make sure it's nice and snug. Looks pretty good. And now it looks like we're at the halfway point for the rear speakers. So let's go ahead and connect our wiring harness. That should just click right in. Beautiful, nice and snug. And we'll go ahead and slide this new speaker right in its new compartment. And almost there. Very nice. And now we'll go ahead and take some thread locking compound and we're going to apply it to all 4 of these bolts. The whole idea is we don't want this thing coming loose while it's shaking. And we'll start by installing these at finger tight level. We just want to make sure that everything's lined up and everything fits. And that looks pretty good. So let's take our 10mm socket and socket wrench. And we'll go ahead and snug all 4 of these down and we'll just go across from each other. So there's number 3 and number 4. And take a look at that. So right now it looks like everything's secure pretty well. Doesn't look too bad at all, at least. Not too bad. Give it a little check. Yeah, this thing is not going anywhere. That thing is very, very snug. And of course we'll repeat the exact same steps on the driver's side as well. So we took the old speaker out, trimmed some slots in the new one. Make sure everything fit good and tight. Nice. And then we'll tighten it up using our 10mm socket and socket wrench. So that should be the last one right here. Do a quick check from underneath. Look at that. That thing is not going anywhere. Okay, good. Just had to do a quick test before I put everything back together. So let's go ahead and install our rear partial shelf finisher, and it just slides right on top. I'm doing this one-handed, so bear with me. And I'm pressing down a few spots just to make sure it's lined up. And once I know that it is, I can put the seat belts back in their original spots. Because I'm leaving it loose just because it makes it a little easier when putting these back in place. So let's get this middle one back in. And then our last one, number 3. There we go. And now let's go ahead and snap this shelf completely down. And get a little bit in the middle and on the driver's side. It actually feels pretty good. When you feel everything sturdy, that's when you know. Next, we can go ahead and install our rear pillar finishers. And this is kind of a weird area, kind of way to kind of finagle it in there. But start with the back and then wiggle it in place. And see if I can line all these pins up with their holes. And almost there. Very nice. And you can see everything's starting to snap right in. So that's very good. And it looks like we have a little bit of a gap right there. Yeah, just a little bit. So we'll give that a little push. And we'll take our trim wheel tool, just get our weather stripping back in place. Very nice. And then we'll go ahead and reinstall our fastener, our Christmas tree one, and give that a little push. Beautiful. And you're going to repeat the exact same steps on the driver's side as well. We'll get our finisher in place, give it a few love taps, and then install our Christmas tree. And it's starting to feel like we're on the downhill slope. So let's go ahead and install our Seatback lock finisher. And you're going to go down and then lift upward. And you're going to do it till all these holes line up with each other. And let me go to this passenger side here, get that all lined up. Very nice. And then go ahead and put all these retaining pins right back in. And these just press right in very easily. Next, we'll go ahead and grab our rear seat bolster. And using the hook, we're going to go upward and then pull downward. So let me move the seat belt out of the way. Get in position. Pull. And it looks like everything locked in. So now I can put the seat belt back. And now we'll move our way to the driver's side. Use that same hook method. And let me get the seat belt out of the way. Go up. And then pull down. And that looked like everything locked in place very nicely. And I'll put that seat belt back as well. So now that we're done installing all the plastic pieces, let's go and return our seats back to normal. And these just fold right back into position. And now we'll take some thread locking compound, apply it to the bolt, and we're going to go ahead and start by hand tightening these bolster bolts. And get a little snug with a wrench. And then we'll take our torque wrench and we'll set it to 18 foot-pounds and we'll go ahead and torque it to spec. And should hear a beep. Very nice. We'll do the same thing on the driver's side as well. Beautiful. So now we can bring in the rear seat cushion and I'm just going to put it in place just so I can get these seat belts through their cavities. So we're going to face the rear seat cushion up and then push down until it clips in place. Alright, so that looks pretty good. And we're going to go ahead and check the driver's side as well. Beautiful. Okay, I lied. This is the last plastic piece we got to install. We got to install our high-mounted stop lamp. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in the wiring harness. We'll get it in position. And at least try to. Line everything up, and then we're going to press down. And we want to make sure everything's snapped in and flush. Looks pretty good. And the moment of truth, let's test everything out. Looks like everything turned out perfect. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe.